Hello, my beautiful diamond. SheilaTruelove here with you this morning. I wanted so desperately to share this with you over the weekend, but I no longer work on the weekends. I mean, sometimes there's something that I just have to post, but I try not to work on the weekends because I need to take more time doing my research and studying and trying to spend some more time with my family and friends. You know, you have to work on relationships if you want to keep them. I just recently learned that Shannen Doherty, she recently made her transition. She died of breast cancer. She was 53 years old. She was battling this cancer since 2015, and she just recently made her transition where she's in a better place as far as I'm concerned. But I loved her. I remember her in 90201, and she played in Charmed. I didn't really watch Charmed, dealing with witchcraft a lot, but the 90210, and she was in a couple of other movies, and she was an amazing actress. And I grew to really appreciate her because she was an amazing actress, and, you know, she was just totally awesome, you know, and that kind of saddened me a little bit, a lot actually, because I'm a part of the sisterhood, and anytime I hear something bad happening, not bad because it's just your way of looking at it and your perspective about it, but she was just totally awesome, you know, yeah, I know now she's in a way better place. Now she's standing before Jesus Christ, and she has to make account for her actions and her decisions, and only God knows our heart, and He will definitely make the best decision. Now I want to share with you another fascinating lady. I'm loving her. I look at all of her content, all of it, because she's just, oh my God. I love a smart woman and a strong woman. I admire that. And she's the _ YV_edit. She is what? Let me share this with you because she made some really excellent points how people confuse boredom with being lonely. Now, we're talking about marriage is the cause of women's loneliness, is not the cure. Because a lot of women, they feel that marriage is the solution for them no longer being lonely. But that's so not true, because I know personally myself, I know of so many women who are married and they are the loneliest creatures on the planet. But you know, people have to know the difference between, first of all, love. A lot of people confuse love with codependency and fear of being alone. It's any and everything, but it's not love. And then people also confuse boredom with being lonely. Because I think I've mentioned this to you in the past, how the best solution for lonely, because I hardly ever feel lonely because I'm so busy, and I'm hardly ever bored because I have so many interests and I have hobbies that I really love. And anytime I feel the need for fellowship or to socialize, I know how to get up off my behind and take myself out to a meetup or a fellowship meeting, or a community church may have something going on. And I also like social media. You know how on social media, especially TikTok, they have it where you can join in the conversation. You just press on one of the plus and they'll pull you in. It's called social for a reason. You have no reason to be bored, not this day and age, and to say that you don't have anyone to talk to. I don't understand all that. But anyway, let me share this with you because she's amazing.
Marriage is not a solution to being lonely. So true. And I specifically want to talk to women about this. Chances are that if you get married, you will feel lonelier than ever. Especially if you are not married to an evolved man, you are going to feel incredibly lonely. And just being a man and like being a provider and like you accepting all the things about him, like he's not emotional and he's not in his feelings and he's not romantic and he doesn't really treat me like that and I'm not a passenger princess, but that's okay because we've been married for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And people don't talk about how that kind of loneliness will actually eat away at you from your very inside. It will erode your very being, your very sense of self. Because it's incredibly disorienting to be that unseen and to be that unloved and that uncared for by the person that you sleep in the same bed with and share your body with and have dedicated your entire life and well-being to, and possibly even have their children. Nobody talks about the soul-crushing loneliness of that. And I think we should, so let's. And especially for women, that loneliness can be so painful because of what marriage represents for women and because of the expectations that are placed on marriage for women. I'm glad we're shifting away from this mindset, but historically the mindset has been you're lucky if a man picks you, right? Every girl wants to be proposed to. The reason we talk about it like that is because that used to be her ticket out of living with her parents for the rest of her life. You know what I mean? Like, it used to be a better option than anything else on the table. Our society is very heavily focused around the male gaze, and women's worth is tied to their proximity to men, etc. And again, I'm glad we're moving away from all that, but there is still this feeling for a lot of women that being married means that somebody wanted me, that I am valuable and important to somebody. And that's not really what it means to men.
Yeah, that's not what it means to men. And I don't understand why women buy into that male patriarchy nonsense. Don't you have children who love you? What about your family who love you and want you? What about you have friends? I know I have 3 of my besties, and we've been friends since we were 16. I know they love me. I know that they want me. And I'm trying to understand, why is it that women feel that the only thing that has any value to it, it has to be associated always with a man? I don't understand that part, you know. You are wanted. First of all, you know Jehovah wants you and Jesus Christ wants you. And why? That's the best of the best. At the same time, I understand that we are human beings and we want people who we can share life experiences with. I know there's times when I prefer to be alone, you know, but then there's times when I want to share some experiences that I have with someone else. So I'll share it with my friends or with my family, you know, and you do have people who love you and value you. And it's not always about a man. And I'm like she said, we are starting to move away from that, and women are starting to decenter men and starting to center themselves. And that's a plus. And what I'm so excited about and what I love more than anything is I'm seeing so many young ladies who are waking up. Now, we still have a lot of them who are still sleepwalking, you know, stuck on, not so much, yeah, I can't say it because I could have been mean, but no. But a lot of them are waking up and they're young. I just got through listening this morning to ministry, and these were young men and young women. And I'm talking about in their early 30s. Young, yes. Continue, beautiful lady.
Because they don't have the same stigma associated with not being married. They're just a bachelor, not an old spinster. They're not an old cat lady. A lot of what you associate as lonely when it comes to this idea that you need to be married is actually very outdated and associated with a time when being married was your only chance as a woman to participate in society. So of course you would be lonely if you weren't married because you just wouldn't have shit to do. You would be like taking care of your elderly parents, or you would be invisible and forgotten about to society.
There's nothing wrong with taking care of your elderly parents. If you want things to go well for you and you want your days to be long on this earth, always honor your parents. Even if they're toxic. I know there's a lot of toxic parents. Don't act like I don't know. Jesus Christ knew it. Jehovah knew it before he made that law. He knew there would be toxic parents. At the same time, they still said what they said, and they stand on what they said to honor your parents if you want things to go well for you. There are many, many blessings that come with that. And I think that women have to keep in mind the same way you handle, and you're so tolerant of these toxic men who are alcoholics, gambling up the money, abusing you financially, mentally, emotionally, sometimes physically. And you see a lot of women who are willing to stick it out with those type of toxic people. So if you could do it like that for them, as I say, look, if I'm going to put up with anybody's toxicity, not that you're supposed to put up with anyone's abuse. Please hear me clearly. You're not supposed to put up with anyone's abuse. But if I'm going to, it will be my parents. Not only because My mother's the reason I'm breathing, but also they gave me life. You know what I mean? And I also know there's rewards that come with that. So that's just a win-win. So let's get back to what this beautiful lady says.
Because at the time, only women who were married and having children and whatever were being given any kind of attention and praise because they were used as tools to serve men. That fear of being lonely just because you didn't get married and you're not spending 24/7 with somebody is actually like a very outdated fear. You don't have to have that fear. There's not the same loneliness epidemic among women that there is among men. And I do understand that some women are lonely, but marriage certainly won't change that, because what's worse than being lonely is being constantly invalidated and rejected. And that is the constant state of most married women. I'm not being dramatic and I'm not exaggerating when I say this. That is a state of most married women, is feeling invalidated and rejected at the same time, probably every day. But in most women's case, you have not gained a companion. You have actually just gained a leech. That's what it looks like to me when women who, in addition...
She said you didn't gain a companion, honey. You gained a leech. I think that you end up being a workhorse, house slave. You already know where I stand with that. And you end up being, a floor mat, a lot of these women. Because I see so many women who are doing the financial heavy lifting, and you have a lot of women who are doing majority of the housework, and they're doing 50-50 of the payment, if not most of the payment. And I keep telling women, please stop doing all the housework, the cooking, the cleaning, the child care. Stop doing it, sweetheart. And if he's not willing to do his fair share, then you need to consider the LAT lifestyle. LAT, living apart together. He's doing 100% of his own now. How about that? If he can't appreciate you being a 50-50 type of gal, then he's a fool. Go ahead, beautiful.
To going to work, keeping the house, cooking all the meals, birthing children, taking care of children, taking care of all the small, important little details in the family. Look to their useless, shitty husband who's sitting on a couch always and say, hey, would you mind watching the baby for 5 minutes while I go take a shower? And they say, no, I'm busy. I'm playing a video game. Would you not feel both invalidated and rejected in that moment? Yes, you would. And that's basically like a leech saying, no, I can't. That's all I'm here to do. I'm here to use you and drain your blood until there's no blood left for me to drain. And I'm going to leave and I'm going to leech on to somebody else, another unsuspecting victim. And no matter how many times they ask me, until they actually physically remove me from the premises, I am not going to stop sucking their blood. And that's what I imagine it feels like for most women to get and be married. Because the amount of women that come on this app and talk about their husbands saying or doing some wild shit, the amount of stories I've seen on Reddit about the shit that husbands say and do, there's no way that you're ever going to convince me that being the loneliest, alonest motherfucker in the world is worse than being married. Like, you'll never convince me of that, because you may not be lonely, but you'll be like 50 times worse off than that, actually. Even when it comes to men who might do a little bit more of the housework or like share duties equally, like, what about that is making you feel less lonely? Like, what about being with this man is making you feel less lonely? Is he interested in your hobbies? Is he supportive, helpful, encouraging in your ventures, in your adventures? Does he have the same taste in adventure as you? Or do you find yourself being like, oh, he prefers to do this, so I just do this, and like, if I really want to do this, then I'll do it with my friends? How are you not lonely like that? Like, how is marriage the answer to loneliness in that case? Like, if you are just doing all this to get with a man who ultimately has no interest in your interests, y'all have no shared interests, the only things that he's bringing to the table is maybe being like a good roommate. I understand that bar might seem high for a lot of men, but I'm telling you, you could just get a roommate. You could just get a roommate that will do their half of the chores. Because at that point, like, you can have separate interests and do all these things separately. It does not cure your loneliness. And chances are, as a woman, you're not lonely, you're just bored, and you're looking for somebody to co-create with, and most men are not capable of that. Okay? That's something that you can do.
I really appreciate her bringing out that point, because, you have a lot of women, that's why they choose men who cheat. They choose men who come with a lot of drama and a lot of dysfunction, and they stay with it. They put up with it because they're bored. They want someone who's going to bring constant drama, because that's a form of excitement to these women. And a lot of times, think about it. It makes a lot of sense. You're not lonely, honey. You're just bored. Because when you're not bored and you're busy, you don't have time to sit around and think about how lonely you are. I know when I'm busy, like if I'm reading, if I'm doing research, if I'm preparing answers for my clients, because I work as an advice coach on a donation basis, I have to come up with answers. So I have to do a lot of reading. I have to do a lot of praying so I don't give the wrong answers, and I could give them what I think is going to help. I'm busy. I don't have time for friendships. I don't have time for no husband. That's distractions. I have enough distractions, sweetheart. So that's why I don't really suffer from loneliness a great deal or boredom, because I have a lot of things that I'm passionate about. But I know a lot of people, they don't have that, but maybe you should consider it.
With other women. There's a great video, a great clip of Princella the Queenmaker talking about this. I'm gonna tag it here. But really imagine if you just stopped wasting your time dreaming about marrying a man one day. Instead of that, you realized that that's not gonna solve your loneliness problem. It's just gonna have you picking up a man's socks off the floor. Like, what it's gonna solve is your boredom problem, because you'll be too busy picking up and cleaning up and worrying about whether he's cheating or not, doing all this stuff for a man. And you won't have time to think about how actually lonely you are, because you have all these other things keeping you busy. The only thing a man's going to do is keep you busy. He's not going to make you feel any less alone. You're just going to be really busy. And if you're going to do that anyway,
you might as well be busy for yourself. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. The key is to stay busy. Do you have any interest? Because I've met women, and I've had Bible studies with women who they kept relapsing back into drugs. And I said, well, what is this drug doing for you? Because people abuse things or use drugs and alcohol because it's doing something for them. And they said it's because I get bored a lot and I get lonely a lot. So when I use these drugs, it seems to distract me. So I said, well, do you have any other interests? And they couldn't really think of anything that they was interested in. So I said, we're going to sit here and we're going to come up with an activity bag. So I wrote down several things, and we tear it up on a piece of paper. We put it in a plastic bag, and when you get lonely or bored, it's mostly bored, go inside this activity bag, take out something. You take out 3, and out of the 3, you have to do what one of them say. So we had to sit and brainstorm some things that they were really interested in, and what are you passionate about? What are you so passionate about that you could talk about it for hours on end? So we had to sit there and really, they had to do a self-inventory. We're going to figure this out. And come to find out, this is what helped a lot of people when they joined they had Bible study with me, there's prayer, and then they joined a support group, and then they had therapy. And guess what? Drug-free. I know one lady, 8 years now, drug-free. Stay busy.
Might as well do it for yourself.
Thank you.
And that way, you'll be bored, and all the things that you're going to do are going to benefit the person that you're supposed to be looking out for, which is you. I swear, there is nothing that a man that you can't co-create with, a man that just brings nothing, no emotional intelligence, no actual intelligence, no uniqueness. These men bring nothing to the table, not even their own will to live. You ever tried getting a man to go on a hike with you, or outside or something like that? Go on a walk with you, go to the farmer's market with you? It's like the biggest chore. How do y'all not feel alone, begging for attention, begging for a text back, begging for flowers, begging for things that you want but you never get? How do you live like that? How do you not feel lonely? I would feel extremely lonely if my boyfriend or husband was more excited about a tee-off time, all the time, than he's ever been to hang out with me or take me on a date. Marriage can make you feel so lonely. Imagine you're reading an awesome book and you want to turn to somebody and tell them about it. And you know for a fact that you could do that if you were with a girlfriend. Or for a fact you could just turn to them and say some random thought and it would be fine. You guys would probably have a conversation. It'd be all good and well. But you know that you can't turn to your husband and do the same thing. Because he'd be like, what are you talking about? Is that supposed to be funny? Who said that?
And that's one of the things I like to do. That's why you join book clubs. And it's usually a lot of women who are in these book clubs. I love reading, as I already told you. That's one of my favorite pastimes. And that's how I take my mind off of negative thinking. If I can't seem to stop thinking about something negative, I will read. And I'll read out loud. And I like reading books. Who I share my books with is, I used to be a part of a book club. But now I do a lot of that with my son, because my son is an avid reader. He devours books like me. His name is L-Majesty. Check out his channel. He's brilliant. And we share the new things that we learn from books. And then the more I read, the more I am curious about certain things that I read. So now guess what? I'm busy doing research. I love it. I love it.
And like go out of their way to like invalidate and misunderstand you because they think that reading is feminine and they don't want to be feminine, or they think that being unemotional is the apex of manhood, or being uninterested in women's things like books and jokes and whatever is like the best way to go through life as a man. Like, that's exhausting. That's very lonely, and that's very crazy making. Constantly stifling your own bids for connection to your husband because you realize that he doesn't have like the depth and he doesn't have like the space or the previous like knowledge or experience or anything to actually hang with you in a conversation. Like, that's lonely. That's lonely. Not being married is not lonely. If you're not married and you think you're lonely, you're bored. You're bored. You just want to be busy. Maybe you're thinking, oh, a man will at least keep me busy. But you're still going to be lonely. Yeah, you're probably not lonely. You're probably just bored. Go do things for yourself. And really are allergic to not knowing themselves. And so when they get in a relationship with women and women start reflecting back to them like, hey, here's how you're acting, here's what you're doing, like da-da-da, they shut down. They shut down. Instead of like taking that and like integrating it and like becoming a better partner, they just shut down. And they make you feel invalidated and lonely. So unless you're with a man who is evolved past that kind of thinking, you're not going to be any less lonely. You'll just be a lot more busy. And your life will pass you by while you've been so busy wiping a man's ass crack who doesn't even care what your favorite book is, has never seen your favorite movie, doesn't know what a perfect date for you looks like, doesn't care, has never signed a card for you, has never bought you flowers. Like, for what? You're not lonely. You're just bored. Get busy with yourself. Decenter men. Men are not the cure to loneliness. They are the cause of it. Because they suffer from a male loneliness epidemic, and they will project that onto you in marriage as well. All right, I love you so much. Marriage is not a solution to being lonely. So true.
Let me read the comments. She's absolutely right, and yes, we love you right back. I asked her, are you a part of the 4B movement? Because the way she talks, I think she is. One woman says, I wish more women knew how overrated marriage is and how difficult it is to get a divorce. One woman says, the solution, find a few deep platonic relationships that helped me to get over loneliness really quickly. Friendships, just right. Being a silent servant to the person you expected to be loved by. Disorienting is a great word for it. Another woman says, when I was married, I was the loneliest I have ever been in my life, and now I live alone and I've never been happier. Okay, let me see. Another one. I was so lonely when I was married, and I'd cry in bed, and when he saw me, he'd yell at me for crying. What? Anyway, that's sad. That's kind of sad. And one woman says, my need for validation was what kept me in my marriage. Now I'm single. And I said, no woman should need a man to validate them. The only validation I need is from God, Jesus, and myself, and that's more than good enough. But there you have it, ladies. You know, marriage is not the solution for being lonely. 9 times out of 10, you're just bored. Marriage, a lot of the times, is the cause of most women's loneliness and boredom. Because women are not designed to really be cheaters, you know? And then I was thinking about how people say we're supposed to be married for better or worse. And what people don't realize is that when the Bible says for better or for worse, this is what it really means. Hold on, babies. Better, because I did research, or worse. Now, when it says for better or worse, that means if he gets sick, you won't leave him. If his eggplant or his corn on the cob stops working, you won't leave him. When he gets old or fat and out of shape, you won't leave him. It does not mean that you're supposed to stay married to someone who is abusing you mentally, emotionally, financially, and sometimes physically. That's not what being married for better or for worse means. And it says, Now I know some people might be thinking that we took these vows, but call me crazy, but I didn't sign up for worse. When I said I do, I meant I do want to be happy, I do want to be respected, and I do want to be loved. I didn't mean I do want to be mentally, emotionally, financially, or physically abused. No way, Jose. Okay? Now, I know some people might say, but that's just a phase. God didn't put me here to be abused. God also said to be wise, my child. Make my heart rejoice. And we know that abuse, it causes stress. And what does stress cause? It causes heart attacks, strokes, and we just had Shannen Doherty. You know, it also could cause cancer too. A lot of this stress can trigger a lot of accelerated aging, cancer. She was 53 years old. And I know she's been through it when it comes to dating and men and husbands and, oh, child, please. So be wise. And remember, when it says for better or worse, you're not going to just up, jump, and leave this person just because we know a lot of men, their corn on the cob or their eggplant, it has an expiration date. And once that starts to malfunction, you're not going to leave him. Or he get fat. When I married him, he had hair. Now he don't. He lost his job. Now I'm out of here. As long as he's not going to sit up here and lay up on you and you see he's trying, you'll stick it out. So that's the worst that it's talking about. Not sitting up here putting up with somebody mentally and emotionally abusing you. Anyway, there you have it, my darlings. I have to get ready to head out to the office. I love you very much and take care of yourself. Marriage is not the solution for loneliness or even boredom. Twinkle, twinkle, twinkle.